people in the West are more free today than slaves were?
Yeah. So what I've argued before is that if you take the principle of empiricism, skepticism, and utilitarianism to its logical extreme, you end up with consumerism.
Hmm.
And I've argued before that consumerism is the perfection of slavery. Because what makes us free, and I'm going to get a bit wonky here, okay? Or a bit, it might confuse you. So feel free to interrupt, feel free to ask me any clarifying questions. But what makes us free is our connection to the divine. Because once you recognize that our ego is an illusion, time and space is an illusion, and what we are psychic beings that are interdimensional, that are unified with the universal consciousness, that have access to God, then what you recognize is this: death does not matter. Death is a release. Our souls can escape our husk and return to the divine. And we are only here to experience the world for what it is, which is a material world. But at the end of the day, this material existence is just a small speck of our entire consciousness, of our entire existence, of our soul. So don't be so focused on material acquisition in this world, because once you leave it, you can't take it with you. But what you can take with you are memories, experiences that shine a light on the universe. We're here to shine a light on the universe by doing things, by engaging activities that are not available to the divine consciousness. And one example is to fall in love with someone. You can't do that up there because we're all one being. We're all unified. But here, because we are trapped in our husk, our bodies, and there's a divine light that shines in us, our divine light aspires to return to the divine. And the body traps us with these animal instincts, right? So the body wants sex, it wants money, it wants pleasure, but the divine spark wants unity, it wants coherence, it wants creativity, imagination, okay? So these are two competing forces within us. And we're trapped in this body, and we believe that this body is who we are. So how can we actually ignite that spark in us and connect more with the divine consciousness? And the answer is by finding another spark and finding connection with that spark. And then together, you reflect each other's light. And then you grow and grow. And that opens your mind and connects you to the divine consciousness while simultaneously you're still living your life. That's why love is important, right? And Dante talks about this in the Divine Comedy, where love is about generosity. It's about kindness. It's about forgiving. So find someone you love and just love that person for the rest of your life. And that's how you can truly be human. And that's a path to enlightenment. That's a path to freedom. But without that, without belief in God, without love, we're always trapped inside ourselves. And we try to escape this trap by indulging in material pleasures, which actually increases the strength of our prison. Freedom is the belief that you are both nothing and everything. Freedom is the belief that love conquers all, love will set you free. That's what freedom is.
I guess to understand how this relates to, the future of where we're going in the world, do the people making the decisions that are important to kind of unravel history over the next 100 years, do they live their life based off consumerism? off of hoarding wealth, or do they live their life off of what you had referenced with prioritizing love?
So transnational capital is first and foremost focused on wealth creation. And that basically means creating more materialism in this world. And
So these people are still Calvinist.
right. So Calvinism is what sparked this intellectual revolution. But over time, this idea of wealth creation becomes an end to itself, right? Because of the Enlightenment. Before, you created wealth in order to be closer to God, to prove that God favored you. And then with the Enlightenment, with the Scientific Revolution, with secularism, materialism became an end unto itself. Wealth creation became an end unto itself. And the reason why is, as long as people believe in God, there's a check and a balance to wealth creation, right? Because, well, we have to remember that we're creating this wealth to show our faith in God. But what matters is our faith in God. But that's problematic because maybe other people don't really believe in God, right? So in China, we don't really believe in God. In East Asia, we don't believe in God. Or maybe other people believe in different gods. Or maybe people are not Calvinists. So if you really want to expand wealth creation, you have to make it a universal idea, right? And the way you do that is by making money itself the God.
Why did they actually kill Jesus?
If you look at the historical evidence, Jesus was probably crucified by the Romans because, why would you make this up? He was probably crucified because he was a threat to the status quo, meaning that he pissed off both the Roman authorities as well as the Jewish authorities. And I think that he was pissing everyone off because he was providing some truth that spoke to people intuitively, but which went against the natural order.
And what was that truth?
I personally believe that he was a religious genius who had an intimate connection with the divine and who believed something along the lines of Gnosticism, Hermetic philosophy. And the evidence for that is the Gospel of Thomas. If you read the Gospel of Thomas, it's clearly a Gnostic worldview. We're all divine sparks, and we're here to experience the world for what it is, to sort of suffer into pain in order to seek enlightenment. Otherwise, we become slaves to the system. Otherwise, we're too focused on making money. This was a direct threat to the system because this would overturn the status quo. The Roman society is a very strict hierarchy, and to say that the person with all the money has no authority over me, the person with all the power has no authority over me because I'm a divine soul, that could be very upsetting. Jesus spent a lot of time with slaves and the oppressed. A slave is considered economic property. So if you tell a slave, hey man, you're a divine soul, you shouldn't be a slave, and the slave either decides to quit or runs away, that's economic damage. There were 3 people who were crucified, Jesus and 2 thieves. So he was considered basically a rebel. So I didn't say everyone will experience this transformation. What I'm saying is that those who undergo the transformation will most likely survive the coming world collapse. Okay, so you can choose to say, like, I want to be materialistic. You can do that, and most people will choose to continue to want to be materialistic, but they won't survive. Okay, and those who do undergo the transformation will survive. And why do they undergo the transformation? Because they see the world collapsing around them, and they are looking for comfort. They're looking for a story. They're looking for an explanation, and so they turn to religion. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, and the reality is that, look, in the coming 50 years of all this chaos and war, I would say 90% of humanity will be wiped out. And a lot of these people will be because they refuse to adapt to the new world. They refuse to believe that a new world is coming and they should prepare for it. Okay? They refuse to change their minds. Okay? Yeah, it's absolutely pointless to worry about secret societies. It's absolutely pointless to worry about others. What you can do is live your life to the best of your ability. Okay? You can be focused on learning, on developing yourself spiritually, and intellectually and emotionally. You can be focused on reading books, on asking questions, okay? And if you do that, you'll be fine. So stop worrying about secret societies, stop worrying about the end of the world, and just focus on your own personal transformation, okay?
What should a regular person do who's in the United States? So how is there any way to, like, What should people do? Is there a way to protect yourself, do you think?
Right. So, so I think one thing that's really important is for people to have the courage to admit that the world is changing and to have the faith that things will turn out for the better. So basically knowledge, keep yourself informed, and that's why shows like yours is so important, right? Money is the great Satan of this world. It's a great illusion. Money is the mechanism by which they control you. And what you need to recognize is that true wealth is your spirituality. True wealth is your empathy, your humanity, your consciousness. So focus on building strong relations with people around you and just accept the fact that your money is not going to be worth that much in a year or two. That vacation you have planned for the Maldives in spring of next year, it's not going to happen anymore. Okay. Just give up these material obsessions and focus on things that make you happy, which is family, friends, purpose, spirituality, creativity. These things make you happy, and you should focus on these things. Be kind, be generous to your neighbors, because in the future, it's these neighbors that may save your life. And the third thing I will say is spirituality is what's really important. Tucker Carlson, he says this a lot, but what's going to happen is a spiritual war. And it is true. There'll be lots of these geopolitical wars. But the war that really matters is a war for your heart, the war for your faith, for your soul. And if you just focus on being optimistic, it's your choice. It's always your choice. Free will is the divine principle of the universe. You have to choose to be free. You have to choose to be brave. You have to choose to live. And so whatever happens will depend a lot on personal choice.